Yeah, he probably, based on the routing, based on the empty checks he's done, he probably feels behind, especially because the way he reacted to seeing that bow.
And that was a great zero cycle with just the ice rod on Argus there from HayfieldBay. He even did it from like above him, which can get a little shifty if he moves around. That was really well done. That's not that easy to do.
And did Argus have an item this time?
Argus didn't have an
item. So that means we're talking left side for 2 items?
At least 1 or 2. I feel like we didn't see the big key either. So it might just be 1 item. It might be Compass big key and then 1 item and any one of those 3 chests that are left in there. But it also could be 2 because I'm not sure. But it's at least 1. So there's something in there.
Yeah, and I'll say this looks like K45 into Smith chain from Hayfield.
And that will be very interesting for him. Dunka's going to go check the ped. Okay.
Yeah, Dunka definitely feels behind. He's checking ped to see if, because if he feels behind, he knows that his opponent probably would not have checked this pedestal. Just because the way the routing went, there'd be no real good time or reason to do it.
Yeah, well, normally you need the book to check it, and then you like to use the mirror after doing Skull Woods to get it. Well, they're looking for the fire rod, so they never made it back there, and then you had to get the book in Ice Palace to get the mirror. So yeah, ped check probably wasn't looking like it happened early from either side. All right, so it's not on ped. I mean, that's good knowledge for him. So he knows he doesn't have to go back into mire and whatnot. He's not going to have to make those chances. HayfieldBay is not going to have that information, so he'll get his flute. You can definitely see him probably trying to cash in on it as well. Dunka's going over to pod. This is still a race. He's not going into swamp. He feels like if the fire rod's there in swamp, he's lost.
And I totally agree with him, because honestly, if the fire rod was there, following behind like this, he would be, because he is also 1 crystal behind, because he hasn't completed Eastern yet. Now, granted, that's a fast clear, but it's still a little bit of time lost. He's also turning in the green pendant, so...
Yeah, because he's going to go over here and do Eastern as well, so it makes a little bit more sense from his perspective, but if you're just going to do Eastern and turn in this green pendant, you don't go in the Dark World to do that, so I am very expecting a pod play after this. And the thing is, like, we know that's going to be probably a pretty good out for him. He doesn't know that yet. I mean, he might have an idea, and he is correct, but this is him making plays.
And as you can see there, Hayfield is saluting the bird. So question though, if the fire rod does end up being in Palace of Darkness, how much time does that give back to BigDunka?
It does give him the ability to not check any items in Swamp, but given how Hayfield cleared it, that's not going to give him that much time comparatively. Honestly, it could hurt him a little bit too, because it would be depending where, say, the silvers are or that other sword is. This is purple check coming up, by the way. We have no idea what's in this chest. It is just a rupee, so no fire rod today. So Dunka could potentially be getting his go mode, but then also be doing silverless Master Sword Ganon, which isn't great either.
That's true, because he has not found that Tempered Sword yet, and Tempered Sword was in, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, Mambo's tablet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And speaking of high, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. This is a high check. We don't know what's in here. This is on high alert. It's on something, high something, but this fire rod could be here in Graveyard Ledge.
Which,
I'm excited. Hurry up.
It is, that's probably going to be game for... Yep, no? Okay, we're still looking.
It was red, but not the one we were looking for, so... We're still on the hunt. Now, what is HayfieldBay going to do? He has not checked King's Tomb, so he's going to do that, but after that, what is he going to do? Is he going to check the flute stuff? Is he going to go to Mire? If that thing's in checkerboard too, that's not great for Dunka either.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I'm just very confused about why he wouldn't do those 2 checks in Palace, considering he's looking for 1 item.
In Swamp?
Oh yeah, in Swamp, I'm sorry. Well, although I guess it makes sense because it's really easy to flip back to Swamp if it's not there. Or if you don't find it, rather.
It's because left side Swamp sucks. There's really no other way to sugarcoat that one. That's why you don't do it. Left side sucks. No one likes to do it. Nobody.
Yeah, and Dunka really feels behind right now because he's just not found this anywhere. Little does he know, though, he's not as far behind as he thinks. So at this point, he is only one crystal behind. He's just a Swamp Palace behind.
Oh man, this is getting hot. All right, checkerboard coming up. Will this be the fire rod? Is this the last thing we were looking for here? It is not the fire rod. Now, Hayfield, you gonna pull out your flute and you go somewhere? He is not going into Mire. Whoa, if he goes over to Pod here, that's going to
yeah,
this is cut Dunka's plan here to try and catch up. Oof.
Yeah, this is definitely not what Dunka fans want to be seeing, but you know, if you're in the Hayfield camp, then this is definitely the play you want to make.
Yikes. Okay, so this fire rod is either here in Pod, is on Ether Tablet, it's maybe in Hera, I don't know what the count is on that, or it's in Mimic Cave.
Yeah, this could definitely be not quite the ice rod hunt we were expecting.
Also, it's in Swamp Palace, let's not forget.
Yeah, it could be one of those two checks in Swamp Palace that we didn't see.
So, yeah. If you're rooting for HayfieldBay, you want it to be here in Pod. Because he's going to be up a crystal, he'll be up a sword, he'll be getting that fire rod probably a little bit less than Dunka, but most certainly not in the time frame for Dunka to catch back up and leapfrog him. I mean, you know, I've seen crazier things in GT, but it seems like that would be a pretty big lead to cut, given the execution of both these runners.
Yeah, I was going to say, these two runners, execution-wise, are, I mean, just spot on. So at this point, you have to hope that there's some check that Hayfield has orphaned, and I can't think of one.
I can't. Left side swamp, and Dunka is going to do left side swamp.
Yeah, no, that is true. Yeah, so really, you have to hope that he last location's left side swamp, and Dunka heads straight from Pod to swamp if the fire rod's not here. And honestly, you kind of don't want the fire rod to be here since they're both in Pod right now, because that means that Hayfield is in go mode, a full dungeon ahead of Dunka.
Why don't we want that? Hayfield wants that. I think he'd probably be very okay with it.
Well, that's true. So, yes, Hayfield wants that. I'm just saying, if we want this to be a close race, I would love to see it come down to who does the Ganon climb best, and just love to watch both these runners climbing Ganon's tower at the same time.
I mean, we should make that the next mode for the tournament. That's the fire rod and pod, so that's go mode for Dunka. Boy,
Okay.
he's smiling, but Dunka, you gotta... You got some ground to make up. I wouldn't be smiling just yet, because you're gonna have to do swamp. You ain't gonna get that sword. Oof.
Yeah, I was gonna say, he technically has a slightly faster swamp, but doesn't have that temper sword, which means if he doesn't find silvers, this is gonna be a pretty big advantage for Hayfield.
He's gonna lose time just on Argus alone, but you know he's not gonna. Presumptuously, he won't check those rooms. Oof. I don't know. I still think Hayfield has a pretty clear advantage here. Oh,
I completely agree. That rod being somewhere that both runners were checking at the same time means that Hayfield is actually in the lead by a full dungeon, but also in the lead in that the checks that Dunka did that Hayfield didn't do, the Meyer checks, for instance, were empty, whereas the checks that Hayfield did gave him that tempered sword.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He should be feeling very, very good about that. I mean, he checked Desert, didn't do the boss, but didn't bite on Meyer as well. And then went into Pod, got his fire rod. I would be feeling pretty good if I was in this spot. So, yeah, he just has to go over and do Skull Woods. So Dunka is presumptuously, like, you know, almost not quite a full Swamp Palace behind, but the Tempered Sword and Master Sword is huge right now. Just that time alone, even if the roles were swapped right now, I would probably still give advantage to the one who had the Tempered Sword.
Yeah, because we also have Mothula and Trinex, so the time loss on Argus, Mothula, and Trinex here, if we don't find another sword, is really going to add up.
I mean, those are definitely going to be time losses, but man, it's that Ganon one, when you literally just cut the fight in half, that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah, totally agree. And the funny thing is, the difference between Master Sword and Temper Sword is huge. The difference between Temper Sword and Butter Sword, not that much.
Right.
So maybe Dunka gets lucky and there ends up being a sword on Mothula, and that would help kind of close up that gap a little bit at least.
So Dunka is showing off a little DLC rooms here. In case you didn't know it, there's this room here. There's going to be a berry. If he's not charging, you can just dash up. If he is charging, you got to slash twice before you can get past him. And then you go over here and push this lever, and then the water drains. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. But that's just a little extra credit room here in Swamp Palace. Thank you very much, Duncan, for showcasing that one for us.
Yeah, you gotta pay a little extra and go download that one off Steam because you're not gonna typically see it otherwise. Wow, that was a very nice Mothula fight.
Good
Just
mop. So we have his 6th crystal. Gaming forward to do Turtle Rock, and I guess the good news is they don't have to go get the Pokey Key anymore because they've already done it. Both of them went in there.
I mean, that's about as fast a go mode Turtle Rock as you're gonna get to, right?
It's kind of strange for them now, because you do have a high percentage chance to maybe skip the big chest when you do Turtle Rock if the big key is not vanilla. And now you're really, I mean, I think you would be kind of insane to not check it because you've already opened the one chest, you've already spent the key. If the last small key is in the big chest, then you're kind of SOL. But I mean, I guess if they just find the big key, small key on the right side, then they don't have to worry. They can just go to the end.
So now Dunk is trying to figure. Oh no, never mind. Dunk is in go mode. Doesn't have to worry about it. I was gonna say figure out if he needs to do those checks. No, he doesn't. He knows he doesn't.
I'm pretty sure I see a cat on his screen. He's telling his cat right now, like, man, I can't believe that book was in Ice Palace. I can't believe that Fire Rod was in Pod. I hate this game.
I agree with that sentiment right now. Although if you're Hayfield, you're just like, this has been a pretty easy, kind of nice, like, cruise along scene.
No, Hayfield's been 1000% into it. You can see the intensity on his face, the laser eye focus. This has not been a cruise for him. He's been 100% focused, and he wants to move on to the round of 16.
The interesting thing is that both of these runners have kind of been just kind of playing to their typical style here. You know, Hayfield is a very kind of thorough, follows the logic kind of player, and really gets through everything with just clean execution. Dunka tends to be a high-density check, kind of skip things that are usually not favorable, your Hera basements, your hobos, things like that. And you've kind of gotten to see the difference that those styles had for this particular seed because, you know, they paid off in different ways. If things had fallen differently item-wise, the runners would have been paid off differently.
Good, nice little safety that I have there at the end for HayfieldBay. And then getting the big key over there, which we kind of knew had to be there. And then we'll get to decide whether or not he wants to save a little extra time. You can skip 2 screen transitions, a little bit more than that, and then skip the big chest. But if that last small key is in that big chest, he will be regretting it because he will have to go back and do the entire dungeon again.
I was going to say, how many small keys does he require to get to the back? Because he has 1.
We need 4 because we've opened all of the doors, and we have found 3.
Okay.
So that small key can be in any of the chests that are available right now. We have no idea, but Yeah, he's doing. This is the right call. I don't think you would have to be a mad gambler to skip the big chest in this situation. But I see people do it.
Yeah, so he's going for that small key. Yeah, I would not expect Hayfield to skip that, just based on how he generally approaches when he's running these.
Ooh, that's actually great for Dunka. So Dunka will be getting a tempered sword unless he decides to. If he skips it, oh my god, I'll laugh at him for days. But,
skipping that big chest would just be salt in the wounds, wouldn't it?
But I mean, him getting his tempered sword is I mean, he needed to get that. If he has any hope of catching up, barring any GT routing or mistakes, you know, knock on wood, I think HayfieldBay's got his one in the bag. But him getting that tempered sword, that's going to just give him just an inkling of more of a percentage chance to squeak this one out.
And yeah, I mean, as we're watching this, it's basically that Hayfield is half a dungeon ahead of BigDunka, which is not a huge amount of time. That is like one Moldor knockdown worth of time ahead at this point.
It's a little bit more than that, but like GT routing is a thing, depending on what you go. If Dunka still feels awful and terrible, he thinks like, you know, there's no way I could be ahead. I will say, if you do tile room first, and don't check anything else, and your opponent does tile room last, like that would most certainly make up the difference of time right now.
So based on Dunka kind of seeming like he feels behind, do you think that's what he's going to do? Do you think he's going to go do tile room?
I do not think he's going to do that. But I was just letting you know that option may exist. But no, I actually don't think Dunka feels that bad right now. He got his fire rod and pod before he went to swamp.
This is like one of the few fights where Goldford is really nice.
But he would have to be making the assumption that like his opponent just didn't do all that. I mean, Dunka got to skip some of the mirror checks as well. So in his mind, he actually kind of did get over there about as reasonable as he could, but I don't know. I don't think I would be feeling that good with the Meyer dip still.
I gotta say, if you have to find the shovel in the game, that's probably the best place in the world to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. After you get your 7th crystal. Heck yeah. The thing is, too, with Dunka finding, or when he went into Meyer 2, he did that knowing that he could have went into Ice Palace, and Ice Palace basically had, like, what he needed. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll just have to wait and see. We'll ask him. And if he says that we're wrong, we'll just ignore him. How's that sound?
Well, yeah, because we're never wrong. We haven't made any mistakes.
Yeah,
Every call has been clean.
Thank you. You got it. Got his Vicky to Turtle Rock. HayfieldBay is entering GT. He is 1 climb and 1 Ganon kill away from moving on to the round of 16.
I mean, at this point, it's looking like this is Hayfield's game to lose, but there are some choices, like you said, there are some choices that BigDunka can make that might bring him a lot closer into this. One of those being if he finds silvers and Hayfield doesn't add a significant amount of time, but there's some makeup time here in the Tower that can happen.
Silvers can make up some time, but most certainly it's probably enough. Alright, so he's electing to do full right. Dunka is doing the big chest of Turtle Rock, so he will be getting his tempered sword. No 24 slash Ganon fights today, so sorry.
Well, I will say this, based on watching Hayfield run this before, I don't think he's going to go full right. He usually goes, I think it's like 1 more check after this, and then he dips out and goes left.
Yeah, nobody goes full right. I mean, you can, who knows? Getting the most chest, I think it's always a good idea to do a route where the last chest you check are going to be Ice Armos, because those 3 checks are probably the slowest chests you can get outside of Tile Room. I think that is a little bit of the logic when it comes to routing.
And I do have to say, I don't know what the deal is here, but every single match that I have tracked or commentated on, it has been vanilla Big Key. So hopefully this one will not be.
Possible. We're looming to that being a thing. But wouldn't be an issue. But yeah, at this point, like, if you want Dunka to win, you gotta pray Tile Room, and also pray that Dunka's got the race awareness and/or stones to make that gamble. Like all the small keys here in GT. Hayfield moving his way down. Only got a few places to check left here in GT. No big key there. Dunka is going to be doing his Trinex fight, which in theory could have been a little bit slower than HayfieldBay's, but I don't really think it's going to make too much of a difference. It didn't look like Hayfield got the 0 cycle on it.
Yeah, and that is, by the way, I believe 11 checks down now. We're getting onto our 12th here.
Dunka missing a few of those ice rod shots. Little monk steering there. HayfieldBay, is this our big key? No, that's just 3 bombs.
Off into the rando room. This will be up to 16, up to our 16th check.
I heard the dog. Even the dog's excited about this. I love it.
It is a bit of a nail biter. I mean, it is closer than it would have appeared at first.
Yeah, there's a mirror shield. Boy, that's the scariest looking Mega Man I've ever seen. He's friggin' all yellow with his big giant yellow shield and sword. I wouldn't mess with that guy.
I would hate to see a fight between Mega Man and Link, because if Link had that mirror shield, what are you going to do with Lemon? Let's bounce off, right?
I don't know.
Hayfield accidentally stepping in instead of doing the bomb.
Tricky one. I wouldn't say that trick is free. I mean, you really only have a few pixels of a window there to line up for that bonk without either bonking backwards and or hitting the tile. So, you know, it's just the minor nuances of execution in this game. They make it look so easy because they're just that gosh dang good.
Okay. So at this point, based on what we've seen, Dunka's only real hope is it's got to be tile room. I mean, aside from barring mistakes and catastrophic like failure in the tower itself, it's got to be tile room, and he's got to check it early.
That is. I mean, I'm thinking what you're thinking. I see it going down. He mirrors though, so he is not going to be doing that today. We got 3 of the last 4 chests coming up. That is a small key. That is an arrow. That is an arrow. So
it is tile room, and if Dunka had gone for it, then this would have
pushed him back. But
race.
Nobody point fingers at Dunka, because only a madman would do that. So.
Oh no, I completely agree. Like, that was literally a Hail Mary kind of, like, you have to really feel behind it, feel like it's your only option. And I mean, Dunka, after finding that mirror, the only thing that really you could say was a bad that kind of like put him behind was the hobo, but that didn't really end up mattering much since he found the fire rod in Pod.
I mean, Hayfield had a lot of slick routing things too. I mean, like, you know, the one thing we said, he went and elected not to check Pyramid until he could do Aga 1. That was pretty smart, in my opinion, because he knew he had to do it. So why would you make an extra trip up there? Really, honestly, it was very clean and awesome routing from both of them. I think Hayfield just got the better of the exchange so far, and you can see that as he has now got his big key in location number 22. Always tile room. Who doesn't love it? He's going to be finishing up his fight here.
So we're going to get to see the Gauntlet Climb coming from Hayfield first, and you know, expect this to be a pretty awesome little fight. Although notice that Hayfield does not have that many arrows, and has only wooden arrows, and does not have that much magic right now, and I don't know if he has another potion.
You are not wrong. That is something that could definitely be relevant in this. Yeah, that could make his Lamo fight take a little bit longer. And Dunka's not going to be having the same issues with magic, because he's actually going to be skipping on the right side. That's kind of where you end up dumping your magic. in your GT routing. So it's inching. We got a little bit of a climb. HayfieldBay is going to need to give Dunka some help. But if HayfieldBay just holds on with his execution, you know, doesn't make any barring major mistakes, like that, this is his race to lose still. He does have a blue potion, so he will get his magic back.
So with that blue potion, that does mean that this is going to be a typical looking gauntlet climb, which you're going to see a lot of skill on display here.
Oh, Dunka. Spinning maybe a little bit more arrows than he wanted to there. Actually, he'll get one extra arrow here, so his mimics doesn't have to be perfect. He gets a free meat. And now Dunka is going to be climbing. HayfieldBay is on land mode 2. He used his blue potion. He's got magic to do fire rod shots. Hopefully get a 1 cycle here. That was a great connection there on the short hop. Wise to pick up the extra magic there. I think he maybe kind of needed that.
Yeah, because he's going to need at least 1 more use of torch, if I remember right.
Yeah, he'll use his Cane of Samaria, but this will give him, I think, 4 torches left. He really only needs 3, and then he can pick up the small magic and do the fire rod. Kind of your classic NMG here. I think the magic's right. I should know this, but I don't. But I mean, he can go down and there's the other small magic too. There's 2 in there. But yeah, this is just fine.
I was going to say, the only real advantage that having more magic does is that you can do that section with fire rod, which saves you just a very little bit of time,
So I'm really confused. Oh, it's Tile Room. I for some reason I thought the big Q was vanilla. Okay, alright. Sorry.
No, cool. You called it.
I was like, you said every single race I've seen was vanilla big key, and even though I saw this Tile Room big key in front of my very eyes, I was like, watching HayfieldBay, and then I was looking over at Dunka. I'm like, dang, he's still opening chests. What the heck's he doing?
No, yeah, like, wait a second, was this a different seed?
Yeah, my bad. We've been playing a lot these last few days to get these group stages. My brain's a little scrambled. But don't worry, Dunka's brain's fine. He's doing Tile Room. HayfieldBay is opening that chest. Just kidding, he didn't quite get it. He's smirking a little bit, knowing that like he didn't open it. He said whatever. He's like, silvers will be here, but it wasn't worth shimmying over the half pixel to the right. So he said, screw that. I wonder where those silvers were. What could they have been? I guess they could have been a Mimic Cave. They could have been on the last chest of Turtle Rock. I don't know if Dunka checked that. They could be in Pyramid Fairy. Could be.
Oh yeah, no. There's actually quite a few spots that we could have had silvers in this one. And here we are onto our Aga 2 fight from Hayfield. I believe he got a 2 and a 2. We're looking to get 6 total shots into Aga.
So far so good. If he doesn't get a blue ball there, that should do it. Okay, that's a 3 cycle. That's about as good as you could ask for.
Okay, so actually we do have a question that kind of came up, and I wanted to address it real quick while we had a little bit of a moment here. If you guys noticed, when they were in the Tile Room, no magic was being used when they used their cape. The reason is because Link to the Past is very, very bad at doing multiple things at once. And so there's some tricks you can use with your cape. For instance, if you have your cape and you're just rapidly swinging your sword, you don't lose magic. Another trick is you can grab your cape, you can put your cape on, grab a wall, and just tug on that wall. And while you're tugging on that wall, the game has no idea what to do with the magic, and so you just don't drain any magic.
Hunter Sword in hand, HayfieldBay on Ganon. Getting the perfect first cycle and second cycle is usually no big deal. It only takes 6 slashes. So not really a tight window to do it, as he does get his 1-1. Now he is basically just going to be 12 spins away from moving on to the round of 16. Dunka is clawing and scratching, trying to get up this gauntlet as fast as he can, but it looks like it's not going to be enough.
I mean, at this point, the only thing you can hope is that somehow Hayfield falls off, but we really don't want to see that the race come down to that. This has been a really, really good race.
Did you find the arrows in my tower?
Interesting. I wonder which chest they were in that we didn't look at.
I mean, it was only a few. I hope it wasn't on validation chest. He tried, but I mean, that would have saved him a little bit of time. And it could have just been outright in the big chest too, which and no one's gonna get that within the right mind. So
yeah, I can only think of what 3 that we didn't check, which would have been big chest validation, and then the one in the room with the anti-fairies.
But we are nailing things right now. He's doing a really good job. This fight is very well under control.
So if you've never seen this Silverless Ganon fight, effectively what you have to do is use sword spins at just the right time as Ganon goes to teleport away. And a lot of runners will actually use that fire bat positioning to know when to release the sword. If you do it too early, nothing happens. Or if you do it too early, he turns blue and you shoot him with a silver arrow. If you do it too late, he's already teleported and you miss him.
He's working on it, getting through it. I saw that eye glance over, seeing like, hey, did my opponent done? Doesn't look like it yet. And this is basically you're like, oh god, please don't finish. Well, I'm sitting here waiting for this fanfare music to end. But he's got it in the bag. He's going to go through the door. HayfieldBay is going to advance to the round of 16, eliminating BigDunka. And he is very happy. He gives us a nod and a smile. That was to you. That wasn't to me. I'm sure of it.
Chat getting to see one of those rare Hayfield smiles when the seed is done and he's got it. Hopefully we'll be able to get both these runners in here for an interview so we can kind of talk to them about their decisions and how they felt about the seed.
Dunka sees the dot done, throws his hand in the air. That was him conceding. All right. I wish I had a face cam of HayfieldBay right now, seeing those silver arrows. He tried so hard to get it. I even saw the dust kick up underneath his boots, which is him pressing A on the chest, but he wasn't quite lined up correctly to open it, and then he just was like, you know what, whatever, I'm just gonna go win now. So.
Yeah, this was honestly, this was a pretty close one.
That's hilarious.
And I didn't quite get the actual final time for both runners. Like I said, we're having a little bit of problems with the tracker being really slow and disconnecting at times. So we can ask them both what their times were. Although actually going to look at the race room, it looks like we had an official time of HayfieldBay at 1:35.03 and BigDunka at 1:38.17. So just slightly more than a 3-minute difference. That is a very close race.
Hey, how did you know Dunka finished already? Are you just estimating how fast he was going to do Ganon because you seem to be very inept with his ability? I think that's what you were doing.
Yeah, I was, whoops.
Yeah, let's see how close. No, I think you were just making a guesstimation. Let's see how close you get to that. Good 1-1 there from Dunka, and he will have silver arrows, so he's not going to have to worry about all that spinning around nonsense. He's just going to shoot him 4 times in the face. Being a good sport here and finishing up. I do believe they're going to come in and talk with us in just a minute. We'll see if they want to, if they're interested. It's up to their discretion. HayfieldBay might want to just be like, you know what, I'll skip the interview. I'm going back to the practice room because he's got money to win. Yeah, Dunka finishing at 1:38.17. Wow, you're really close. Man, if he would have actually hit his timer 1/100th of a second later, you would have been wrong, but you know him very well.
Yeah, you know, it's just, I'm just that prescient. It's a mom trick. But yeah, Hayfield will not be able to join us here, but we do have BigDunka in the room with us.
Hey, GG.
Yeah, GG.
Oh, Dunka, you played great. You had a great run in this tournament. You did great in your groups. You have the greatest ladder in A Link to the Past randomizer history. I know you probably wanted to come away with the W today, but you did come away with our hearts.
Oh, that's wonderful. That makes me feel so much better.
You even managed to get a nice internet cat meme going on. Got that cameo going there, so that was good.
You also have. I was gonna say, you have the best haircut within all of the runners that I've seen in this tournament so far, if you wanted my honest opinion, which is good for nothing, but I wanted you to know that.
Yeah, it's extra shiny.
So question for you. How did you feel about the seed, the routing, the item locations?
Well, the bow was the first. Let me ask, did he get bow early from Hobo, or did he get it late?
He did not have to double dip Eastern.
He got it early. That was the first one. When I saw that, I knew I was in trouble. I double dipped one or two too many dungeons at that point, and then I think by the mid game, when I was still bow hunting, I was more or less hedging on the possibility of maybe Pet is in play. I did check that before going to Pod. Even though I knew that was kind of where I was going to go after Eastern. But at that point, I kind of assumed I was going to be a bit behind.
Yeah. Well, the good news for you was that both of you did the ped check, and Hayfield did the entire Smith chain. One of the things that kind of gave him a little bit of an edge, though, was that when you both hit go mode, Hayfield had also checked the Bombos tab and managed to find Timber Sword there.
Okay, so yeah, he had a little bit of a lead going into the last two.
Yeah,
so.
well, he did all that stuff with his mirror, and then he did have bow before he went over to Eastern, and then because you did the Smith chain and all that stuff without mirror, and he didn't go into to Misery Mire, so he checked. Yeah. He did get his flute. The flute was just a total red herring and time waster, but he did check Mire Shed and Checkerboard. And that was after he went and did K45, did the Smith sequence, got his flute, and then did Graveyard Ledge. And then he did Mire Shed, Checkerboard, and then just went over to Pod. Okay. After he had done Swamp, but he skipped left side, of course, too.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess that makes sense, yeah.
That was pretty much the time difference I saw.
Yeah, I should have just read the flipper signs and just fake flippered into ice early. I was thinking about it. Because book had to be out there somewhere. I thought about that for a lot, and then in the end I was just like, whatever, I might as well just go do it. So I
guess the other clever thing he did too is he did Aga 1 to check Pyramid opposed to walking up there.
Okay, yeah. And again, at one point I thought about that. I do like doing the early Pyramid catfish play. Especially with no mirror. Yeah, I do like making that play early without mirror, without mitts. I do that a lot.
So was knowing that mirror was on Desert Ledge, did that at all affect your routing in the seed?
Well, I mean, it affects it only for the fact that you're just book hunting. I expected the book to pop a lot sooner than it did. Was hoping that it was going to be early in the chain instead of basically right at the end. But the other thing it did is it just basically said, because of when I got it and how behind I felt at the point where the bow popped, it basically said, I'm going to try to save as much time as possible and not step into Swamp. That's why I did Pod before Swamp.
Right. I mean, book could have been your go mode in this seed if you somehow managed to never make it over to Zora, which I didn't think would have been unreasonable either, because you didn't have any money at any given time. And then, why would you do Zora? You could have had book be go mode. Yeah, it would have been weird.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. I don't think I would have ever made that, but it's definitely a possibility. And yeah, that flute was a giant pile of garbage.
Yeah, flute was real bad for you. Sorry.
It happens. I don't remember where it was.
Hammer pegs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when you did the Zora check, so we saw you do the fake flipper without the Zora money. You went and checked the waterfall, skipped the hobo, and then when you went back to check Zora again, you skipped the hobo again. At that point, was that a conscious decision on the second time to skip the hobo, or was that just kind of one of those, oh, I need to go check Zora, and you kind of just like buzzed it out?
At that point, I was down to like 3 locations for progression. And I knew obviously flippers were going to be way behind. So I was banking on hobo being a dud because I was almost out of progression, I think, at that point. It was that and Eastern, maybe. I think that might have been all that was left. So skipping it there made sense based off of there's a really good chance hobo is just complete dud. And it's 30, 40 seconds off the top.
Yeah, maybe holding out for mirror too, so...
Yeah. Well, I mean, at that point, again, we knew where everything was at. So we knew couldn't have been mirror. Couldn't have been... Well, I guess it could have been book. But yeah, I mean, there was... Yeah, at that point, it was a conscious decision to try to save a little bit of time. Zora seemed great.
Yeah, no, the Zora check ended up being absolutely great for you because it got you your mitts first. You actually ended up getting into East Death Mountain first, doing the check into Turtle Rock, which, by the way, both of you ended up doing. So a lot of the checks here, it was really interesting to see both of you doing all of those exact same checks. And it really just, I mean, the whole seed came down to, one of you goes left while the other goes right, and it just happened to be at that one crucial decision point that kind of gave just that little bit of a lead.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It's just, yeah, it's kind of a bleh.
Well, sorry. I wanted to give you just the biggest air distance, 6 feet away, e-hug through the computer whenever I saw this happen, but tough tournament. It was a tough run. You did great, sport. Don't be too hard on yourself. You're awesome to watch. Do some commentary with me moving forward in this tournament.
Bunch of bald guys.
Yeah. We could be angry about it the whole time too. It could be our bit, dude. I think it'll sell.
I think I would love to hear that commentary on those races.
That would be so interesting.
Hey, and look, I mean, since commentary is never wrong, you can literally say whatever you wanted at this point.
So I've got that meme trending. I think it's good for everybody moving forward.
Oh, wonderful.
But yeah. You got anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Any shots you want to fire?
It is what it is. I mean, what we witnessed there it's just that's how it works. It would have been more interesting if the big key in GT wasn't at tile room. Let's put it that. It would have been much more interesting.
See, for you it would have been, but the funny thing here is that Ack actually called that early on and was saying that the way that this seed becomes just ridiculously close was if you pulled the absolute just insane play to choose tile room, and that would have been just, I think, the hypest thing. But that also would have been absolutely insane because who does tile room first?
I never would have brought myself to do that.
Why didn't you do that?
I've never done that, nor will I ever do that.
Yeah, and as you shouldn't. And I honestly, you probably didn't. I mean, you probably weren't feeling great, but I mean, you probably weren't feeling like, oh God, I got a YOLO tile room either. So
no. I mean, he wasn't done yet. So I mean, if your opponent's not done, I don't think you make that play. I mean, I can't imagine unless you know for a fact you are just light years behind.
Correct. It's not. I mean, it's not like you last location fire out either. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, no, totally agree with you. There was really nothing in this that I think anybody could point at and say, oh well, of course he made this mistake. I think he did a great job. I think the routing was there. And
Dunka didn't go to where all the items were. It was very quite simple. That's why you lost, Dunka. You got to go to where the items are and don't go to the places where they're not. I mean, this is the randomizer tournament. That's been the proven way to win these things. Next year, right?
If only it was that easy.
So I do have one final question for you. Since you're out of it now, you can openly say who are you favoring? Like, who do you want to take this thing since it can't be you this time?
Well, how do you answer this question?
I mean, There's no. I can't answer that question.
Just say Blaine.
Yeah, is Blaine still in here? He 4-0'd, didn't he? Yeah, I'll give it to. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna give it to the Big B. We're gonna give it to the Big B, and he's gonna win it on the last seed by taking over a minute and a half lead by doing Blaine Route GT. That's how it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
So there we go.
From BigDunka, Act the Boker predicted to win the tournament from BigDunka. So. Sick. GG's again, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody out there in Speed Gaming Live who's been watching this one. Stay tuned. There's going to be a lot more action to come. I'm not sure what's on the schedule for after this one, but I'm sure it's going to be entertaining, and hopefully it'll be some more Link to the Past and see what the rest of the seed has for us. Do you have anything else to add, Ak?
Oh, no, you did everything perfect. GG's, guys. Keep watching the tournament. Keep watching all these crazy zany matches. Have a wonderful morning, night, evening, wherever you are.